Right, Maureen, thank you for coming along. This is the Wānaka-Upper Clutha Community Board meeting for the 12th of May. We're going to start with a karakia himatanga, and Kathy's going to start us off with that.
Nā mihi o te rā ki te whānau e hui hui nei. Kia tō te rangi marie, kia whakatapua tātou me nā mea, e whakapanoa ana tātou. Pami e, hui e, tāi e.
I'd like to welcome members of the public. I think there might be one who we'll be hearing from soon. Kia ora. Thanks to staff for turning up. There's a really good turnout, staff, and many of you will be presenting either to the meeting or to the workshop, so we look forward to hearing from you. And good to see Sue and Evie. Thank you for coming along as part of the media. Megan Miller is GM of Corporate Services. Megan, thanks for coming over. And Quentin, as Deputy Mayor, is joining us at the table. The meeting is being recorded, as you know. John Wellington is an apology, and I'm now going to take any leaves of absence. If anyone has anything over the next 6 weeks they'd like to record. I'll be away from the 25th of June to the 12th of July.
And on 27th, 28th May.
And Nikki's 27th and 28th of May. So I will move that the John's apology be noted. Would anyone like to second John's apology? Cody, quick out of the blocks yet again. All those in favour of that? I pass that unanimously. Everyone will have read the agenda. Are there any declarations of conflicts of interest for anyone regarding the agenda? There's no matters lying on the table, so we're going to move straight forward to hearing from Peter O'Brien. Welcome, Peter. Kia ora. Good morning. You're welcome to come up to the table here. I understand you'd like to speak about the Lake Wānaka Centre, so normally have about 3 minutes for you to share some ideas and thoughts, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning. Do you want papers to speak?
Have you got something to hand out?
I can.
If you have already prepared that, you can distribute that as well. Yes, more than welcome to. Yeah, you'll do that. Thanks, Peter.
In the matter I want to address, I am in no way an expert, so it's simply as a concerned citizen. I want to address the health and safety issue here.
Yes.
During the recent Festival of Aspiring Conversations at the Lake Wānaka Centre, a requirement was stated which has given me cause for real concern. At the commencement of each session, patrons were advised, in the event of an emergency, to move to the designated assembly area that is on the grass area between Bullock Creek and the Masonic Lodge. Access to the assembly area involved following the directions of the festival volunteers, exiting the centre to the west, presumably via the Armstrong Room, moving down the seating terraces with its deep steps, moving to the path and over the walkway bridge that passes over Bullock Creek, and to not use the main entry doors to the centre, as this would be kept free for emergency responders. Given that the festival patrons included a large number of elderly and physically challenged people, my concerns are: 1, health and safety in the event of an emergency is woefully inadequate. The 330 patrons that the centre can hold would not be able to funnel out of the centre to the west in a timely and safe manner. Exit to the west will require stepping down seating terraces, which is physically demanding at any time, let alone when people are panicking and pushing. I appreciate there is a set of steps, but this is relatively narrow and will be rejected in favour of a more direct path by people when in panic mode. The walkway bridge over Bullock Creek is narrow and will create a choke point during a mass evacuation. The real outcome in the event of an emergency evacuation is bleak. I believe people will at best be injured and some may be worse off. I believe there is potentially a solution. The seating terraces should in part be turned into a wide set of steps with handrails defining the emergency exit route. and the balustrade at the west end of the terrace area could be removed to provide access to a new and wider bridge across Bullock Creek, which would lead directly to the assembly area. This is not a complete solution, that is for others to design, but it would be a positive step to take and would be seen as an attempt to address what I consider to be a dire current position.
Well, Peter, that's really food for thought. I think when you've lived here for a long time and you've attended so many events, you just sort of become a little bit numb to that without actually thinking it through a fresh pair of eyes. And I think you've raised some very, very valid points there. I mean, we should pass this on to maybe to Christine to sort of reflect on.
Well, you're in luck today because the Director of Property is in the house and has heard you, and I will give him this as well, and they will certainly consider your concerns.
Yeah, well done, Peter. You've got your email address there. Roger's in behind you. We'll make sure we feedback with you after council reflected on it and give you an update as to current thinking.
Right.
Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Useful.
There's no other public forum or deputations today, so thank you for Peter for that. The agenda, as I noted before, has been distributed. Are there any changes or anything that anyone would like to see in the agenda that's different than it is? Otherwise, I will move that the agenda be confirmed as it currently is. Anyone other than Cody like to second that? Thank you, Nikki Gladding. All those in favour? Carry that unanimously. The last community board meeting was held on the 2nd of April. The minutes have been circulated. Are there any changes to those minutes that anyone would like? Nikki?
Just one. I caught it last night, and it's not a change to anything substantive. It's just the way it's recorded. It's on page 12. It notes that elected members also requested amendments to the resolution, and in brackets it says the addition of resolutions 4 and 5, but in the resolution they're just not recorded as 4 and 5. There is bullet points. So just for the make sure there's no confusion into the future. Thanks, Ruben.
Or just those. Are we okay to move them without amendment in that? Yep. Just okay. So thank you for that, Nikki. Thanks for reading those. I'd like to move that we confirm the minutes from the 2nd of April 2026. Do I have a second for that? Thank you, Chris. All those in favour? Okay, that is carried as well. Thank you. Moving on to the substantive items on our agenda today. And Catherine, would you like to pop up? So the first one is obviously something that we've been working on as a community board probably since October, working towards the annual plan deliberations and paper and recommendations we'd like to be putting forward. Thanks for the workshops that you've initiated, Catherine, and for taking the feedback that's was flowed back to you and accommodating most of those points. The floor is yours, Catherine, to add anything before we start to go around the table.
No, nothing further to add. Thank you for the opportunity to get this in front of our council. The only thing I'd say is that we have a deliberation session on Friday, so this will be useful for that deliberation session.
The timing's worked very well, and we appreciate you sort of keeping us ahead of the curve. A lot of times we've been involved in these things when decisions have already been made or pathways have already been set. So again, I think we've noted that numerous times. Chris, let's just go around the table and any questions or observations on this matter?
Actually, no. I like what it says. I think it's a fair reflection of how the board feels and what we want to happen. I guess the only thing is it's not going to happen quick enough.
Brilliant.
I think just to comment, just to add some context, I guess, to Park in Tinsfield, the intention was to set some money aside to look at providing something for more teenagers who are sort of drifting around, getting into trouble, and trying to provide a pathway to do that. I think the timing isn't right because of the land not being yet developed in conversations of MOE and parks and other things. So in the future, be still keen to look at it again. But I think as a board, we've reflected on a lot of the sentiment throughout the annual plan process and tried to prioritise things that are, high value, low cost, where possible, try and keep some momentum. So I think it's a pretty rational way forward, and yeah, excited that we've taken a really proactive approach here.
Kathy.
Further for context, I think it's good to note that these items are all things that have been under development for some time. So they're not new, additional, bright, shiny things. They're not things that have come out of thin air. They're things that have come out of long-term engagement and conversation with community members across a variety of topics. We're zeroing in on some specific things here, but there are others on the list as well that we have sort of deprioritized ourselves, and it has been really useful to be doing that in really full conversation with Catherine and the team. So appreciate that, and I'm happy with where we've landed.
Thank you.
I just had a question around the artificial turf. So we were going to try and do this in thirds, but I just don't understand. Is that why we're doing 700,000 capex and 100,000 opex? Yes.
That's how much we need to start the project, I guess, to get it started. In the long-term plan, the balance of the money, once we do the detailed design and we know how much it's actually cost.
Why do we need capex if we're not going to like do anything in the design phase, or we will
be design parts that be capitalizable? Yeah.
Okay. And then when I added it all up, and I'm not financial, it roughly costs, like, what we're asking for is roughly about 3 million. Did anyone else done that? Yeah, 2.9 billion. And so that would equal about a 1.5% rates increase across the district for the next financial year.
Some of it is not district wide, some of it will be Wānaka.
I feel like
transport related ones would be.
Like all the ones that I added were district wide, because obviously the art centre one, that's not, but that was just anyway, it's roughly that.
Sorry, just to confirm, it would be just the interest component of that. It's not OPEX. OPEX would be what you're talking about, but it's just roughly, usually would say 4% interest on CapEx, but in the first year, which would be the 26-27 year, we'd only expect an average of spend of half of that across the whole year. So it's only roughly 2% interest costs in that first year. That's the impact. And it's offset as well with some of the other internal submissions that were already proposed based on the timing of projects such as Ballantyne Road and 516 Ladies Mile.
So what does that make it? Like, what are we kind of estimating?
So it's a net favourable position still on what we've got in the annual plan at the moment, because the reductions that are in the internal submissions part are actually greater than these additions that we're adding on here overall.
0% rate increase if we go with this.
And it's just other savings throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on the deliberation session on Friday, you'll see things where we're suggesting that some of the capital projects might be delayed.
Yeah.
Therefore, not to rate for those.
Right.
Balancing off those new additional rates.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You want to hear?
Nikki.
I've got a few questions. And look, I should have figured this out by now. It's probably a silly question, but the Sker Heights fund, that's going to incur an interest cost when spent. Correct? Or not correct?
Double check the guidelines.
It says it's not cash in the bank.
It's not.
Yes, it will, because it has to be borrowed, because we haven't put across into a separate fund. That money's not sort of sitting there, it's part of general. So any time that that's in, that is not a pot of money. So yes,
only interest cost, it's not paid back because it's come in. Otherwise, I'm just trying to figure out. But we really need to understand this, because unless we do, we can't understand the rating impact of using the Sker Heights fund.
So the existing 4.8 million effectively has been spent. It's been used in the back of the bank account, but in the balance sheet has been put aside as a reserve. And there will be some additional proceeds coming through, which will be cash. So
So how
effectively we could think of it as money that's coming in will be effectively going out straight away into these two projects.
Therefore, it's not borrowing, therefore there's no interest, which is interesting how the two are dealt with separately. And I think we need a little bit more information on that. I mean, do we need to spend it immediately in order to have no interest cost? Is that interest cost applied across the distance?
Cost or interest.
Well, it is, it's a rate, your interest has a rating effect, so we need to understand how that's treated. You know, if Gerhardt's money, if money comes in from sale of Ironside Drive, how do we best make the most of that? Do we want to put it in the bank to then? Anyway, look, maybe that's a discussion for another day, but I think the point is we don't understand the rating impact of this if we don't understand that. This
It'd be a small amount,
Yeah.
4.8 million borrowing.
Yeah, but then if it's borrowing, presumably you need to pay it back. How does that work and who pays? I'm just haven't got my head around Gerhardt's fund, I guess, at this point, which makes it really difficult to make a call. My fault. Just a question with duties elsewhere. Long-term plan doesn't have, it has a renewals and replacement fund, but there's nothing in it really, except for Kingston. They have their own line and they're clearly funding some of their own duty themselves. If we fund this duty out of Gerhardt's fund, are we anticipating that in future the revenue and financing policy will ensure that duties of replacement is ward-based?
That would be up to the councillors to decide that.
Okay, yeah, we can have a look at that. Question just about the 5 million. So I had a look in the LTP, and so what this is a finance paper, right? And it doesn't, I'm hoping it doesn't necessarily explain how we're going to treat the projects. So they're all separate. Stage 4 development plan, Lower Helwick, Stage 4 pathway, they're all being treated separately, but you are pulling from the same budget. So there's only one budget line in the LTP, which is over 5 million, like 5.5 in the last 3 years. And it's the paper almost treats it as though they're separate, they're the same budget. So okay, fine. I guess what I want to know is how is the package of these works, because Stage 4 is one project in the Lake Wānaka Lakefront Development Plan. Why would we do? Sorry, there is a question here. I guess the question is, it looks like we're doing multiple pieces of design work, multiple pieces of engagement, but the plan is that it is a whole. So why are they being treated separately just for rating purposes and funding purposes, or is this are we planning to do separate pieces of work and separate pieces of engagement? Personally, I would like to see it all done as a whole in one piece of engagement on the whole thing, because it doesn't make sense to do it piecemeal because it should tie together. So perhaps have any comment on that? That was
your question, can we bring it together as one?
Well, yeah, because you know, why would we? Well, it looks like we're directing the funding of separate pieces of the puzzle, but given that we're doing them all at once, and to me, the Stage 4 development should be done as a whole, so it ties so that everything links together, doesn't feel disjointed. Can we fund this separately the way we're doing and agree this, but it will be done as a cohesive whole?
Yes, so the Stage 4 pathway would stood as a standalone project because it's a piece of work that we can deliver independently from the wider Stage 4 work. We can incorporate the design into the wider Stage 4 works if you want us to.
So that's different because it's, and I get it, but we are progressing the things all at the same time, and they are all just about design. So there's nothing that's pitched to actually be done ahead of any of the other pieces. So to me, the Lakefront Development Plan Stage 4 piece is the design piece of the whole, and that should come first, even if other things have progressed at the same time. It makes no sense to do them all separately, even the pathway, because we're just looking at enabling planning work to start. And given that it's taking money from the Stage 4 development plan budget and separate it into just the pathway, I just think we have a budget for the whole. We need to be thinking of it as a whole and making sure that the things are right. So yeah, my question is there a pathway to doing this all as one, doing the design work as a whole, doing the engagement as a whole? Rather, to me, that's cheaper.
If you wanted us to do that, we can do that. I guess the thing was why this pathway was a little bit separate is because we were all given us a bit of direction around this. To progress this piece of work, so we can do that if you want to.
I guess it's a council thing ultimately. Like, this is a recommendation to council, so I guess we can have a further chat about it when it comes to it. It just concerns me because it looks like we're duplicating design, duplicating consultation, and things may not knit together at various points. I don't think the path should lead the way. I feel like the whole should, personally. You know, yeah, sorry, and I'll just check and see if I've got any other. Just the cost recovery around Helwick was the last one. Revenue and financing question. It might go the transport, Upper Clutha transport rate at the moment, given the policy, but down the track, is there the ability to generate targeted rate to it, not the whole thing, but to send a portion of it to the businesses that benefit, or not? Would that just require revenue and financing shift?
Yeah, you'd have to.
I mean, I guess the point is, for balance, we did it in the Wānaka-Upper. We're not doing it here.
More than welcome to
Yeah.
add more rates,
Okay.
but
yeah,
or
or
we're trying on
no, that's
we want to simplify our rating rather than
yeah,
make
that's
it
complicated. Yeah, cool. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, look, support. I suppose there's just understanding that the role of the community board and the role of the council are different in this context, and it's the priorities are being well communicated by the community board. It doesn't negate the function of council through the annual plan to consider how it fits in with all the other affordability pieces and things like that. It's really important to understand that, but the community board has also been super mindful of how do we reduce the impact on ratepayers, and you know, the use of the Skirt Heights Fund or the Wānaka Reserves Asset Fund is a way that we can invest in things in community needs without having a direct rating impact, and that's really important principle. That now going just to the loan impact, we've actually had an upside by using that money and not incurring interest on debt that we would otherwise have, and now it flops the other way. So in some ways those things cancel out a little bit, cancel each other out a little bit. So we actually will, you know, depending on the length of the borrowing, we've actually had an upside already. Is the point on that? We've actually saved money by using that money.
Yes, come. Let's hear Quinton out.
And so yeah, look, and as I said, all those things, just regarding the stage 4 pathway, I mean, we've always been aware that that's a big piece of work that's going to sit out, and will still sit out in the program, which is why we've chosen to bring the pathway, or recommend that the pathway be brought forward. And that's very intentional. Regardless of what happens with the stage 4 design, the pathway will be an anchor, a backbone to that. There aren't too many options about where the pathway would go, and that's actually the bit that forms the anchor for the other design features of stage 4. So anyway,
I'm really excited about where we've got to. I reiterate that we were very proactive as a community board as soon as we were elected to signal to council where the priorities were for the community. When I go through this, really excited. We are using sales from the Skirt Heights Fund and Wānaka Asset Sales Reserve to invest in community infrastructure. We want to do that with the turf. We want to lead the way. We want to then bring in some co-funders, other philanthropic funders, but it's key to show that the community and the community board is using that fund to get that turf out of the ground. The Roy's Bay Jetty will be a jewel in the crown of the waterfront. We're also signalling that the Asset Sales Reserve is a key piece of social infrastructure. We know that is intergenerational. The kids that go down there are then the parents that take their kids, and then the grandparents are the ones that are taking their grandkids down there to feed the eels, to jump into the lake. It's a quintessential part of growing up here in the Upper Clutha. Quinton point out what I was going to say is that I think the community has been very generous here in Wānaka because we have had an asset sale that has then gone in to support the district funding that money when it was sold, when that land was sold, it went into the general coffers, that the whole district has had use of those general coffers, those funds for many, many years until this point in time, and it's not even unsure yet when that will be, following years, that we will actually invest that money. So exactly as Quentin pointed out, with the borrowing and the interest that we've got, or the borrowing that we've saved from that money being put into the general coffers should be acknowledged. The lakefront development plan and the Lower Howick Centre redevelopment, we have always talked about bringing the lake to town. That's what differentiates it. That's why if I was a business owner, I'd say that's one thing 3 Parks cannot take away from us, and that is the fact that people will come down and always gravitate to the lake. We need to make that lakefront world class. At the moment, it's a bit muddled. It's been like a tennis ball, tennis match. It's been lobbed back and forth over the net, both sides. We need leadership around this. We need to have some conviction. We are starting with the vegetation removal. The second stage is going to be that shared path that's going through part of the 2016 direction that was given by the community to have a continuous walking and cycling and shared path around the whole of the lakefront. So I think those things go together. I do think the Lower Howick Street is slightly separate from, it's a transport orientated CBD initiative. It needs to work alongside the lake stage, along the lakefront development plan, needs to work together, but I do think they are distinct. One is reserves, one is transport and property and infrastructure there. So yeah, working alongside each other, but I do think that they are 2 separate pieces of work. It's going to be really exciting. We are signalling that we are going to support the Wānaka Arts Centre Trust and to try and bring about the bringing together a new arts facility here. We've signalled that the asset fund will be used for that. We've talked about how it's important as a community that people have a safe way to cross roads and to bike to school and everything else like that. So we're working with the transport team about how we invest in that infrastructure. We are, and a lot of what we're doing, and we talk about Timsfield, about making sure that the Hawea community is a community that has community infrastructure there, and that's very important to us. So it's really exciting. There isn't actually much we're delivering with this. A lot of this, because CapEx requires design work and does require that investment up front, and we acknowledge that a lot of what we're doing here is setting the scene for future years. There's actually probably only one thing we're asking for, and that is the pathway. Get that pathway, which is a key thing for safety, so people aren't knocking kids off bikes off the playground, is that, you know, we're rerouting that. It's about equity, because there's no way that anyone with a disability or wheelchair can get through that gravel across there, and it's a tourism business thing as well, and because that part of the lakefront needs to be a jewel in the crown, and the continuous pathway will help do that. So overall, I just want to put that in context, that what we've asked for has been well thought through. It's long-term infrastructure that we are encouraging council to invest in, and I think we're in a very good place for a well thought through plan. I'd like to move that that Catherine's report, that we note the contents of the report, we recommend to council where we think the asset sales reserve should be invested. We recommend to council where we should have annual plan funding via rates, and we recommend to council those initiatives where we'd like resources put in so that the planning can be undertaken, so we can do that capital investment in future years. Do I have a seconder for that? Sure. Chris? I'll move that. Chris is seconding it. All those in... we do it slightly differently, but
sorry, I'm so too used to the round of questions and then having
understand.
Comment. I'm just having looked at the submissions, and they weren't part of the pack. So for some reason, the annual plan we went out for consultation on these different options, and we did receive feedback from the community, but they weren't part of the pack. So I circulated them as some way, but I am just concerned that we are trying to get the rates down in this next year, and staff have gone to a lot of effort to try and do that, and we're bringing more stuff in, and I'm just conscious of the impact on people. Like, it is it's not easy in current times to pay your rates, and every little thing and each little thing seems like not much, but it's all piling on, and I'm struggling to agree this is priority. So I just like to ask that Simon take the parts 1, 2 and 1, 2 and 4 together. I'm comfortable with those. I'm not comfortable at this point recommending that these are priorities for this next year. So just hoping you can take them separately. Thanks.
So, yeah, I mean, as to my point before, this doesn't negate council's role in the next few weeks in making those decisions. I don't think the recommendation of the board overrides the responsibility of council that it faces in approving the annual plan, and that's where you should make that influence. You know, if no, I'm just saying that I think that that's just reinforcing that point, that the role of the board and the role of council are different in this part of the process, and there's no question, and we will have on many of the other issues that we face in the next few weeks, we'll be considering affordability as a key part of that. And that's the bit where you have to balance it.
You don't have to say, I'm not looking at it. I'll continue to your piece. Okay, so I put that to the vote that we're moving 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, that's in by Chris. All those in favour? Aye. Anyone against?
Against.
Okay, against. So that's carried. Kevin, thank you. Thanks for your hard work. We're going to go to the second part. So Hugo, you can come up. And you? Yeah. We've got the parking restrictions and minor improvements program. Good to see you, Lee. Good to see you, Hugo.
Thanks for having us.
Relatively straightforward report. Anything you'd like to add, Lee?
I think it's all in there.
Yeah. Yes. So just a little bit of that context that, you know, it's been 2 or 3 years that we've been looking for these interventions for safer crossing points across Rinson Street and Ardmore Street. So it's been designed. So I understand that this is just part of that process of work, that as we go further, there is implications for yellow lines, etc. And you're coming to get some agreement for that, so that this program work can continue to proceed.
Yes, that's right. I will point out that there are some locations where there's additional work, but those already have broken yellow lines, so we're not making changes.
Okay, so this is just a supporting thing that comes within our delegations. I'm not sure I have to go around the table, but has anyone got questions or observations on this paper? Oh, Kathy first, and then Peter.
Really just a request for future papers like this. The images not in the context for where they are. So they're little itty bitty pieces. Now I know you guys are over this stuff at times, but and in the narrative, no indication of where exactly where. So
sure.
Noting that every time we've got a group of people around the table, you can't assume that we all know exactly where these things are. So for future use, thank you.
My point is, these are really practical, low cost, high value things. I think a lot of people for a long time wanted to get safer crossings, and it's cool to see this kind of investment come through. Just because I think it's just highly valuable and really sensible. So great job.
You want to move?
Yeah, happy to move.
Sorry, Nick.
On that note, the Brownston Street one, I couldn't, because it was quite small. I couldn't quite tell. And on Brownston Street, down the further that way,
Western end, yeah.
there is already a little crossing, right?
There is, yeah.
So what is going to happen with that one? And can that be removed so that, because I'm just aware that's a busy road. Like, how many car parks are we removing?
This one, yeah, in
It's like
Bryanston, I think it's about, yeah, it was
quite a lot.
There's also a number of driveways adjacent to that. So obviously you can't park across driveways, so it does reduce a little bit. So this is the one in Bullet Creek, and there's another one 50 metres up the road or so. our intention is to retain that one as well, because that would serve people coming north south along our
Yeah.
It's a little bit no man's land even for at the moment, because we're moving the one to Brownston because we're encouraging people to walk along
Yeah, I know.
along the creek and then cross over to the food caravans.
Yeah,
They're not gonna do- So the other one there is those that come up Howick Street at the moment.
I understand the purpose of it, but I'm saying it would be interesting to know the car to people, you know, ratio. If you're removing 6 car parks there and it's always full. Anyway, I just wondered if you were going to move the other one, then you could add those car parks there. One other thing, we're not doing that, so that's fine. You know, we talked about last time, there was that like parking, pullover, layover parking,
The loading zone?
yes.
Jason? Yes.
And people don't realise that you can just park there, maybe because we're taking away car parks, potentially, were we gonna write like 5 minute, or is there some kind of option?
You were.
These spaces here.
Yeah, the loading zone on the
Yeah.
north side of Bryanston. Whether it's worthwhile changing that sign from a loading zone to a P5.
The understanding, Hugo, was that a loading zone does allow you to park for 5 minutes. And I think what Nicola, I think what we said last time was that that is not commonly known there. So people avoid parking in the loading bay because they're not a truck loading goods.
Yeah.
If it's a P5, people know they can pick up the takeaways there. So is there any downside to us swapping up from a loading zone to a P5, which then allows both types of use?
Strictly kind of the size of vehicle that can use the space. Make it P5s that above the mark individual spaces, whereas the loading zone fit in the truck of 12.5 meters.
Right.
So that
So we just have to tell people you can park.
Well, can we have it both? Is there some stopping it being a loading zone and P5?
Stops, yeah. One or the other.
I think putting a time limit on the loading zone is the actual more useful, because you know the primary use of the people using the caravans is in the evening, and a loading zone is more likely to be used during the day or in the morning. And so I think you put a time limit, you come up with some sort of time limited loading zone that could be, and then could be used for parking at other times.
Okay. So I think the takeaway for you, Hugo, is just to sort of say, can we have better utilisation of this, understanding that most members of the community won't be able to, don't think that they can park in the loading zone. Is there a way that we can not even educate, but a way that we can accommodate both uses? Yeah. Did you take that away for us?
Media, you can pick that up as well. Headline. Big news.
Kathy.
Because I think I will get this question after, once the construction's happening and people are like, what's going on out there? So why, could you educate us on why you choose these traffic calming, pedestrian crossing enabling measures as opposed to, for example, a zebra crossing? I've heard this answer before, but I think it's really good to remind everyone.
Cost is probably the biggest one. If you put in a zebra crossing, it's doing that. And should be raised as well. And with the raise, you get the sound as well. But it's in residential areas, so you're trying to avoid that. But primarily, cost is the difference.
From a safety perspective, there are,
They're both.
what's considered
They're both.
safe.
There's a long list of pros and cons. They're different depending on each, but they both have a good safety. We get into details of.
It's probably
pretty minor.
It's along a continuum almost, right? So zebra crossing is the Rolls Royce, and there's a significant expense. Lighting is not cheap, and I'm not sure if you noticed, Hugo mentioned the raised crossing. So we ramp it up, which slows vehicle speeds over there and much safer for pedestrians. But our budgets wouldn't stretch as far.
Thank you. I mean, I guess just one of those little comms opportunities that maybe as a takeaway for our comms team related to this, when the timing is right, to help remind our residents why we do these things. I mean, because it is about safety. Understanding there's always cost involved, but and why you make some of these choices just helps enhance understanding.
I will add that there are 3 zebra crossings within this package of the previous in Wānaka Council.
Also good to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Cody. Cody's moving item 2 on the agenda, that we note the contents of the report and we approve the changes to the parking restrictions as set out. Who would like to second that? Thank you. Gladding is seconding that. All those in favour? Aye. Carry that unanimously. Thank you, Tim. Keep it correct work.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing an update on that wayfinding too, Lee.
I have a few more things to send your way.
Fantastic. Thank you. Should have actually held you captive slightly longer, shouldn't we? Not on the agenda. You're lucky. Item 3 is the chair's report. So thank you to everyone that contributed to that. I actually feel really encouraged when I read the chair's report and I hear what everyone else has been doing out in the community, connecting, attending events. Just making sure that the community board is very visible. So thank you for the hard work everyone does around the community engagement. Is there anything anyone would like to add to the chair's report? Okay, it's quite straightforward. So I will move that we note the contents of the report and accept it. The seconder, thanks, Cody. All those in favour? Aye. Carried. Very good. So we've got some workshops. There's some good substantive workshops today I'm looking forward to getting into. So we will have a 5-minute break after we conclude this meeting in a moment. Thanks for everyone's attendance. Karakia. Karakia Wakamutanga from Kepi. And we will close.
Kia whakairea te tapu, kia watia ai te ara, kia toruki whakataha ai, kia toruki whakataha ai. Pamie, huie, tāre.
Close the meeting at 10:42. Let's come back at 10:50 and begin the